Welcome to another lesson of the Social and Environmental Studies for the upper basic level. Before we come to our lesson proper, I am Bakar MC Sane. If you could fully remember, our last lesson was based on family systems, types, and structures in the Gambia. And at the end of the lesson, an assignment was given, and it is time now to answer those assignment questions. Now, question number 1 reads, why is the family so important to our society? Why is the family so important to our society? A family is very important to our society for the continuity of the lineage. And this lineage is about the relationship in the family, more especially by blood. So the answer to question number 1 is family is important to our society for the continuity of the lineage. And another importance of the family is to give a helping hand to one another. Question number 2 reads, is it easy to be a parent? Give reasons. Is it easy to be a parent? Give reasons. So in this question, how many answers do we need? It is 2. You need to answer the first question, and then if you answered the first question, you give your reason or reasons to your answer. Is it easy to be a parent? The answer is no. Now, give reasons. Why? Because being a parent requires a lot of challenges that you are to face. Being a parent demands being responsible. If you are a parent, you must be highly responsible. Responsible in the sense that you will provide the basic necessities in life to the family members. You remember in the lesson we've talked about extended family system, nuclear family system, single parent family system, and in each of these family systems, obviously there are family members. So who normally provides the basic necessities in life to those family members? These are the heads of the family. And usually, the heads are the father, the mother, or other members of the family, which could be a grandparent, or an uncle, a nephew, a niece, etc., etc. Now, question number 3. The term generation in family systems meant, all the people in a family belonging to the same level and descended from a common ancestor. I repeat, all the people in a family belonging to the same group and descended from the same ancestor. Question 4, Binta lives with her father, mother, 2 sisters, and a brother. This is an example of Das family. Binta lives with her father, mother, 2 sisters, and a brother. This is an example of a Das family. The answer to this question is nuclear. This is a nuclear family. Why? Because Binta lives with the father, mother, 2 sisters, and a brother. Are we seeing the name uncle, nephew, niece, grandfather, or grandmother in this question? No, we are not seeing that. If those names are mentioned, therefore, our answer would have been an extended family. But instead, the answer to question 4 is nuclear family. Here is our today's lesson titled Migration. Now, what is migration? This is a movement of people from one geographical place to another. Immigration is the movement of people into a country, while emigration is the movement of people out of a country. Now, this brings us to an image showing migrants. What are you seeing here? You are seeing people moving from one place going elsewhere. These people are migrating. Now, the other terms associated with migration, which I mentioned before, is immigration. This is the movement of people into a country. For example, a Senegalese living in the Gambia is an immigrant. It's one good example of immigration. On the other hand, a Gambian living in Senegal is an emigrant, starting with letter E, emigrant. So the movement of people out of a country is known as emigration. The next part we are seeing is still about migration. We are seeing here people leaving a particular country, moving to another country. Now, usually, this is as a result of various reasons. One of them is political instability. When there is an unrest in a country, a civil war, for example, people will leave their country of birth and go elsewhere. So these are a good example. What are we seeing here? We are seeing a father, children, mother, and series of luggages going with them, and of course with some of their livestock, leaving the country to another country where there is peace. One of the types of migration is rural-urban migration. For example, someone who moved from Kiankayaf to Serekunda is an example of rural-urban migration. Now, here are two important keywords: rural, urban. What is the major difference between these two? The major difference between these two is development. If you look at the two settlements, the main difference is the level of development. What makes a place to be called urban is the level of development, and this development is mainly on infrastructural projects and even raising the standard of living of the people. And of course, looking at the sizes of the place in terms of infrastructural projects. So the main difference between rural and urban is that in rural settlements, it is smaller in size. When compared to urban settlements, the sizes are usually large. Now, coming to the other type of migration, which is urban-rural migration. This is a type of migration where the migrant moves from the urban area now, going to a rural area. And for any type of migration, usually it is always based on a reason or reasons. So one example of urban-rural migration is someone who moved from Serekunda to Kiankayaf, for example. Moving from Serekunda to Kiankayaf is an example of urban-rural migration. For example, I can give another example. This person who moved from Serekunda to Kiankayaf, for example, is a teacher who was teaching in one of the schools in Serekunda, and he or she is now posted to Kiankayaf school to be working there as a teacher. So that is another example. The other type of migration is called urban migration. This is a type of migration where the person moves from one urban settlement to another urban settlement. Like I mentioned before, every migration is always based on a reason. So one example of urban migration is someone who moved from Serekunda to Kombo Lamin. If you look at the two settlements, all is in an urbanized setup. Serekunda is one of the towns in the Gambia. Equally, Kombo Lamin is also among the towns in the Gambia. So the two settlements obviously all belongs to the same type when it comes to settlement classification. They are all in an urban setup. The next type of migration is called rural migration. Rural migration. That is moving from one rural settlement to another. For example, from Kiankayaf to Jara to Nyataba. Now all these are rural settlements. They are all rural settlements. Someone who moved from Kiankayaf to stay permanently in Jara to Nyataba is an example of rural migration. Now if you remember, I made mention of reasons for these types of migration. Every type of migration is based on a reason or reasons. Now, for example, what are some of the major reasons for rural-urban migration? If you remember fully, pictures were shown seeing migrants. The other one is showing people moving from one part of the country to another. The other one is showing people moving from, as you can see here, people are moving from one part of the country to another. This other image, you are seeing people leaving the country to another country. So what are some of the reasons? We come to that. The most common type of migration in every country is rural-urban migration. That is the most common one. As a result of the following major reasons. Number one, looking for employment. Is one of the reasons, looking for employment. The next reason is seeking for college and university education. For example, somebody who wants to learn in a tertiary institution or an institution of higher learning, and the person is a native of the rural area, obviously must come to the settlement where a college is established or a university is established or a particular institution of higher learning is founded. Another reason is accessing better health facilities. It's among the reasons for rural-urban migration, accessing better health facilities. If you come to an urbanized area where there is a hospital or a clinic or a better health facility, which cannot be compared with the health facility founded in which you live, or the place where you live, in fact, it lacks a health facility at all. If the chance comes your way, you will obviously be in a place where this issue of medication is available. Another reason is enjoying social services like electricity and clean water supplies. So it's another reason. Enjoying social services like electricity and clean water supplies. The next reason is running from rural hardships. Running from rural hardships. You may be living in a rural area, working, but you live on an unreliable income. Coming to the urban area might be a fortune for you to get a better job which will earn you at least an increasing income. Now, what are some of the problems and effects of rural-urban migration on urban areas? Remember, as this type of migration happens, it also increases the number of people living in the urban settlement. So the moment the number of people increases, there must be some challenges. What are some of those challenges or problems? The first one is housing problems. Housing problems. Accommodation becomes a challenge in some cases. The other problem is high crime rate. High crime rates is another problem in an urban setup. Next is traffic congestion. Traffic jam or traffic congestion. Now I can give you an example of this type of problem. Like in the Carnifing municipality, like from Westfield going up to Tabokoto, for example, it takes the driver an hour and some minutes before the person gets out of that particular area of the traffic. Next is diseases spread easily, where many people live, for example, in a particular room. If one is affected with a communicable disease, for example, that particular disease can easily spread to the uninfected people. So it's among the problems. Another one is congestion in the urban areas. Another problem is congestion in the urban areas. That is many people. You see, many people. In fact, people will be many to a level that others will just be available without doing any meaningful economic activity. The next one is low productivity in the agricultural sector in the rural areas. When many people leave the rural areas, coming to the urban areas, productivity on the side of agriculture will be low. It's not going to be very high as expected. Because for productivity to increase, it is expected that the number that should be involved in this agricultural production should equally be high, more especially the youths. Poor sanitation is another problem. The moment there are many people in an urban area, poor sanitation becomes the order of the day. There is that indiscriminate littering of the environment. High dependency ratio. If you remember in our lesson entitled Family System Types and Structures, we've talked about one of these problems, high dependency. For example, in an extended family system, there is high dependency on the head of the family, usually the father or the mother. Another problem is prostitution. That is another problem which is common in the urban area or in places where too many people are living. Some are at work, others are not working at all. That's another problem. The next one is high unemployment. High unemployment is also a problem of having many people in an urban area. Depopulation in rural areas. That is, many people in an urban area result to the number of people in the rural area reducing. The number will reduce. Encourages air, land, water, and noise pollution. The moment a lot of people live in a particular area, obviously, it is expected that a lot of activities will be going on in that particular area or place. Businesses, other economic activities, and series of them, you name them. So usually in the urban area, the problem of pollution, be it air, land, water, or noise, will also be a common thing. Now, besides every problem, there are solutions. What are the possible solutions to the problems of rural-urban migration on urban areas? Having many people in an urban area, having lesser people in the rural area, how can we remedy that problem? Among the remedies are more development across the country. In other words, development should be decentralized. You have many infrastructural projects in an urban area. Equally, a lot of such projects should be in the rural area as well. That is what we mean by more development across the country. Development should be decentralized. More skill centers should be built for the youths. If more skill centers are built across every administrative region of the country, the problem of getting many people in an urban settlement will be minimized. Proper waste management is another solution. Proper waste management. This proper waste management is discouraging indiscriminate littering of the environment, dumping at any given place the person feels like. Another solution is the creation of more rehabilitation centers for criminals and prostitutes. It's one of the solutions. The more people we have in an area, obviously it is expected that there must become series and series of problems and challenges. But if more rehabilitation centers are established where people will learn different forms of skills, the problem of criminality or banditry will be greatly reduced, even if it didn't become history, but it will be greatly reduced. Establishment of processing industries in the rural areas in order to stop or minimize rural-urban migration. If more processing industries are established, known as manufacturing industries, if more of them are established in rural areas, like it is in the urban area, this will prevent some people from residing in an urban area, because it's among the reasons why people come to the urban area. Why coming to the urban area? Why coming to an urbanized area where there are factories, where there are industries, where there are processing plants? Is to seek for employment. Is for the migrant to be employed. Establishment of more training centers in the rural areas in order to check on even distribution of population. You can see, when you have more training centers in the rural areas, just like it is seen in urban areas, the issue of population becoming higher in the urbanized area will be reduced. More police patrols during the day and night to control crime rates. It's one of the solutions. More police patrols during the day and night to control crime rates. Because some people will be at work, others are not working, but instead, whether working or not, everybody needs money. Everybody has social problems. And to solve those social problems, most of the time requires money. So this will enable others to be involved in various forms of criminal activities. But among the solutions to that is more police patrols during the day and night in order to control crime rates. Negative effects of rural-urban migration on the rural areas. What are some of the negative effects of rural-urban migration on the rural areas? Like having many people in an urban area, be it youths or people at the level of parents or elderly for that matter, obviously has series of negative consequences on the rural area. One of them is a decline in farming or leading to low agricultural productivity. The more youths, the more able-bodied men, the more able-bodied people you have in the urban area will obviously have a negative impact on agriculture. For example, it will have a negative impact on agricultural productivity. The next negative effect is the population of rural settlements. The population of rural settlements. What is this depopulation? It is the reducing of the number of people in an area, in a particular place. The number will reduce. For example, if the number of people in a particular rural settlement used to be 5,000 people, and after a period it is recorded that more than 100 people left that particular settlement. So those 100 people who left that particular settlement will have a negative impact on the previous total. So this is what we mean by depopulation, the reduction of the number of population of an area. Another problem is breakdown of marriages. It's one of the negative effects, breakdown of marriages. Youths who have tested urban life usually reject their social norms and values. This is also very true. Youths who have tested urban life usually reject their cultural norms and values. Sometimes some youths will be living in the urban area, even if they will not be at work, they will just be here doing nothing absolutely, or they may not even value the cultural norms and values of their family anymore. Rural towns gradually become ghost settlements. For example, if you go to villages in the rural areas and you visited a particular compound, you realize that the number of people living in that compound then and now isn't the same. Viewers, before we call it a day, here is an assignment for you, and the question or questions read, number 1, the movement of people into the country is called dash dash. I repeat, the movement of people into the country is called dash dash. Question 2 reads, the most common type of migration in every country is dash dash. The most common type of migration in every country is dash dash. Question number 3, give any 2 problems associated with the type of migration mentioned in 2A above. Give any 2 problems associated with the type of migration mentioned in 2A above. Now, here is 2A. This is showing you that the first question and the second question are linked. So it means if you got the first question right, it is expected that you will also get the second question right because they are connected. But equally, if you got the first question wrong, it is highly expected that your answer to the second question equally will be wrong. The next question reads, name any 2 rural and urban settlements in the Gambia. Again, name any 2 rural and urban settlements in the Gambia. So those are the assignment questions. Before we call it a day, once again, I am Bakar MC Sane. I thank you all for your viewing.